It is a beautiful day here in Brookline, Massachusetts, very close to Boston, and I am at the Lars Anderson Auto Museum, home of America's oldest car collection. And I'm here with a car that is neither old nor American, but it is a Porsche 992 that one of you is going to win. Now, if you've been familiar with the world of automotive YouTube for any amount of time, you will undoubtedly have been bombarded with sweepstakes and giveaways and raffles and all of these crazy, scummy things that at VINwiki I have always said no to until now. If you look at the landscape of automotive museums around the country, you will see that they are dying every day. And it feels weird for them to be nonprofits in gorgeous facilities with amazing car collections, but that is because these facilities and these collections have been given to the entities that now curate the history of the automobile for America. And sweepstakes like this, the way that you can buy a ticket at the link in the description below to win this car, is how they keep the lights on, the doors open, and the staff paid. And so please do check it out, not just for the chance to win an amazing car, but to help support America's car culture here at the Lars Anderson Auto Museum. So seamless, so fast. 379 horsepower, really perfect for a car that you're actually going to drive and enjoy, because you can explore its limits without putting yourself or everybody else in an awful lot of danger or drama. I mean, this is the kind of car that I think makes more sense the more you drive it. There's a lot of cars that you kind of feel like I've survived whatever the latest adventure was and I've had my fill and I'm ready to get in something that's a little bit more civilized. This, I think every time you spent more miles in it, it would just make you love it all that much more. And somebody's going to get to do that for a very low ticket price. Now, I've had several 911s. I had a 993, I had a 996 Tina from Car Trek 6, had a 997, my Roof RT12S, and if I'm honest, I don't know that I ever fell in love with any of them. I mean, I understand the 911 allegiance and the novelty of the cars, but it's one of those things where I always just kind of felt like driving whatever other cars I had at the time. But there is no other car that does everything as well as a 911 does everything. And you know, I've made cases before that at any given point there are a variety of best cars in the world, and I think that a rear-wheel drive simple 911 always fits in that conversation, and this is a wonderful example of that idea. Of course, it is PDK, but honestly, in the way that these modern 911s behave, I think it makes a lot of sense as a usable car that you're just going to drive and enjoy. I mean, this is the one-car solution to any kind of car problem that you could ever throw at it, and it does drive brilliantly well. The 992 is such a lovely grown-up version of the 911, while I think still being very purely stylistically everything that you think about when you think about the ultimate Porsche sports car. And the coolest thing about this particular 911 is that whenever you take it somewhere, rather than having to brag about your paint to sample air vents and all the other nonsense, you can say with accuracy and confidence that this is the rarest form of a 911 today. There are more GT cars, being GTS, GT3, GT3 RS, built each year than there are regular Carreras. So you have the rare one. And there's something about a 911 where you just get this awareness that you're not compromising anything to have the performance and the enjoyment that goes with the car. You've got something that doesn't make you hurt or fall out of it or not be able to go places. It'll fit places, you can see things, you could pack stuff, you could take extra people. It's just a great car, and I get that. Now, I generally deploy a lot more automotive masochism when it comes to really, you know, picking out cars and putting a lot of miles on them and things like that. And that doesn't really apply here because you're really not sacrificing anything to drive and enjoy a car like this. And when you come out of Lamborghinis and Bugattis where things are just kind of put wherever they might have fit, having a car where everything makes sense and engineers thought about how far it was to reach for things and where your hands might ought to be is quite nice. It's a lovely, lovely car. My father was a lifelong Mercedes fan, and so when he could, he bought a certified pre-owned Mercedes and drove it into the ground, 250,000 miles. And then when he could do another one, he bought another one and drove it 250,000 miles all the way into the ground. And he was about to buy another one, and I mentioned to him, you know, Dad, you could buy a barely used 911 for probably 30 grand more than the Mercedes you're looking at. And when you're done putting 200,000 miles on the 911, it'll still be worth that 30 grand difference. And so there's no additional cost. And he did, and he drove it. And unfortunately, at 99,800 miles, someone else ran a red light, rear-ended his car, and it was totaled at the worst possible time. This, I think, was probably 2021, 2022. And at the time, you could not get a 911. And so he ended up having to wait for well over a year to get another new 911 because there was no savings on used ones. And it has been such a wild market for all forms of sports cars, but especially the Porsche 911 market over the last 5 years. And it is, I think, kind of finally getting to a healthier point with respect to the power dynamic between buyers and dealers. But regardless, it is a special, special car, and he loved it. He had never looked back. He's well on track to put that many miles or more on the latest 911, which is a 992, and even more than his 991. He loves it. So my 1995 Porsche 993 Carrera RS Tribute car, with maybe a little bit of salvage history, became the giveaway car to one of our VINwiki app users at the time. And I just saw that car again. It is still with the guy who won it. That would have been, I guess, in 2019. And he took delivery of it and immediately drove it to his home near Seattle. And recently he relocated to the Nashville area. And so I was at the Huntsville event for Smile a While in the Bugatti, and he was there with the car. It is still gorgeous. We did an Avalon King ceramic coating, and that is holding up quite well. And he's just loving the car. And it's so cool to see something like that because it isn't a car that's going to bankrupt him from a maintenance perspective. It's a car that you can just put someone in regardless of their circumstance. He was in college when he won it, and it has still not bankrupted him. He did have to put a clutch in it eventually because he was still kind of learning to drive a stick as he left, but I was so happy to see that the car has treated him well and he has treated it well. And I hope whoever ends up with this thing treats it well because it deserves it. When I was growing up, there was always this fantasy of, you know, finding some hack into getting to own the car of your dreams. And for me, it was hyper-aggressive financing and weird trade deals and bad histories and things like that. But, you know, a contest like this that's supporting such a great cause is really the dream. And if you happened upon somebody at Cars and Coffee, like, oh, how long have you had your 911? Well, I won it supporting the Lars Anderson Auto Museum. I think that's about as good as the story could possibly get. They say the Lars Anderson Museum is really the hub of the wheel of the New England car community, and there's events and Cars and Coffees and shows and everything that you could ever dream of as a car enthusiast happening on the grounds every day. And I have to say, it feels quite proper to pull right back in this Porsche 911, and I hope that whoever ends up winning it certainly brings it back for as many of the great events as they possibly can. The Lars Anderson Auto Museum is actually housed in the carriage house of the Isabel and Lars Anderson estate. And here on the lower level, we have their car collection, 14 cars that represent America's oldest car collection. Really a golden age of motoring with electric cars, traditional cars. This Fiat was recently at the Amelia Island Concours, but this is where you come to see them. Now upstairs, we've got rotating displays of member cars and supporters of the museum, friends of the museum that bring their cars cars in for usually a year at a time. Right now there's a spectacular display of JDM cars, but as these museums go on in age, this was built in 1888, but ever since 1949, it has operated as a nonprofit car museum. And when you see how awesome it is to go and explore the grounds, participate in the events, and see this museum, you know why we've got to keep it going, and you can do your part by trying to win a Porsche. So now's your chance to support the Lars Anderson Auto Museum and the amazing work they do to preserve the history of America's cars. And it's also your chance to win the Porsche 992. So check out the link in the description below to win your car and support this great place.